Oh, hey, didn't see you there. This is Bill Burke, the Dad on Board columnist for Parenting New Hampshire magazine. And I'm just sitting here outside of Toy Story Land down at Walt Disney World. And I thought I would approach as many cast members and people involved with this project as possible and ask them if they had a toy that stuck with them as they grew. Was there a toy that they had when they were growing up that has stayed with them as they've grown? For me, I had one when I was young. My parents bought me a Spider-Man web shooter, and it strapped to your wrist, and it had a suction tip dart, and you put it in and you would pull the trigger, and it had a string that stayed attached to the dart, and it would go flying, and that was your web. And it was the best thing ever. So I wanted to bring it to school, and my parents said, no, you should leave it home. But I thought I would bring it anyway. So I snuck it to school, and we played with it during recess, and it was great. I had a great time. And then on the way home on the bus, I was messing around with it on the bus, and I put the dart into the web shooter. The bus hit a bump, snapped the dart in half, stuck inside the web shooter. Broken, gone, forever. That was it. So I went home and I told my parents what happened, and they said that I learned a valuable lesson, and I did. And that lesson is always listen to your parents. So that's my toy story. Let's see what everybody else has to say.
Wow. I'll tell you what, I'm glad you asked that question, because looking around this land, I see all the toys. We didn't have a lot of toys growing up, but one I remember was the Green Army Men. We used to have bags of those, and we used to hide them in the dirt and do excavations and blow them up with firecrackers and the whole bit, flood the tunnels. So I'm sure that that house still has thousands of Army Men buried in the yard somewhere. But really enjoyed playing with those.
You know, I love the opportunity to build things with my hands. I loved like K'NEX, those pieces where you can put things together and create a whole new world because of your imagination. So I kind of feel like that's what our Imagineers must feel like when they have the chance to build a land like Toy Story Land, and they can literally play with those toys and build an entire land to life.
I had two items, and I still have them when I was growing up. One, it was a Mickey Mouse plush, and it had a metal wind-up in the back, and it would play lullabies when I would go to bed, and that's how I fell asleep every night. And the other one that I still have, I loved my Cabbage Patch dolls. My parents were recently cleaning out their home to move, and they came across some old items, and they said, "What can we get rid of these?" And the answer was, "Heck no, you put them in a box and you send them to me." And those were the items. They literally went everywhere with me. Mickey, believe it or not, went away to college with me. He was just a part that I had him from so young. So everybody has that item that just holds so much specialness to them, and those are the two that hold something special to me.
I think the toys that have the most emotional connection to me are the ones that I saw in the movies that I experienced growing up as a child. You know, I'm at that age. Toy Story was something I certainly grew up with, and the other half to my ambassador team, Ken Facey, he's someone who, one of his very first toys was a Buzz Lightyear from a New York toy convention, and so that's something growing up he's cherished. And if you come and visit our desks today, you literally see that same toy sitting right there on his desk next to his computer. So I think the chance to experience things that you've seen on the big screen, and then to come home and create your own versions of what those worlds are like, that's something that's always making a lasting impact.
I had a Holly Hobbie doll. I guess I'm aging myself. So that was my favorite doll at the time.
How long did you have it?
I still have it. It's actually at my parents' house. I don't have it with me, but I still have it. And I probably got it in the 70s. So yeah, still have the doll. Actually still have two dolls that from my childhood. So
I had a big wheel. I loved my big wheel. I wouldn't learn to ride a bike until I was probably almost a teenager, so 12 or 13, and all my friends had bikes, so at that point I had to give up my big wheel because I couldn't keep up. So. And I loved, for Christmas I distinctly remember getting Cooties, that game, and putting together bugs and all the different parts, which was a lot of fun. So it's kind of neat that they've incorporated it into the land here, along with Tinker Toys, and been looking for Lincoln Logs, because Lincoln Logs was a lot of fun.
So can I write that Mom on Board had cooties?
Do you know, I absolutely loved all of my baby dolls when I was growing up, and I liked baby dolls, so I've always been very maternal. So for me, playing with my dolls, I would just get lost in that. But also anything that had to do with using my imagination, just playing with the things that were around me and turning them into real life stories where I could become a character in that story. That's what I remember most, and I think that's what happens when you're here in Toy Story Land. You become a character in the story in Andy's backyard.